Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be another recent reads, so let's jump in. I don't know if these recent reads are working because it's way past the time to do it. This is for the last 2 weeks of July and we're on the second week of August. I thought it would go better, but here we are, the last 2 weeks of July. I read a total of 5 books for those 2 weeks and I'm excited for some of them. I read some good ones, so let's talk about them. First one is I finally read An Anonymous Girl. I think I put a hold on this like a long time ago and it finally came in from the library, the audiobook. And so I said, why not? Let's pick it up. It was my first time reading a Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen book. I do own their other one. I think they have another one, the one from Book of the Month. I know they have 2 books on there. And so I was like, let's do it. It's on my shelf. It's on my library app, my audiobook app. So let's do it. I really enjoyed this. Here we're following Jessica and she's a makeup artist. She works for this company and she basically goes to your house or wherever it is that you want her to go and she does your makeup for you. She ends up getting booked by these 2 college girls. Now I can't really remember if they have like a special event, graduation or something, or they're just getting their makeup done to go out for the night. They're in college, she gets booked at their dorm, and while she's doing their makeup she hears them talking, obviously, and one of them says how she thinks she's gonna cancel the study that she's gonna go to. She's getting paid, I believe, to go to a study, but she's gonna cancel because she just doesn't want to go. So Jessica overhears this and needing the money. I think they talk about how much money she's getting for that study. And when she hears this, she's like, oh my gosh, that's like, yeah, she's hard pressed for money. Since she knows that the girl is not going to show up to the appointment, she shows up. They go from there. There's lies, there's deceit, there's jealousy. When she gets there, she doesn't know what to expect. The study is basically just asking questions that you have to answer, but they're sort of like personal questions, some of them. One of them is, could you tell a lie without feeling guilty? Question number 2, have you ever deeply hurt someone you care about? And you have to be really, really honest. And it's just you in the room and it's through a computer. So like the question will pop up one by one and you go answering them. Number 3 is, should a punishment always fit the crime? And it goes on from there and she decides that she's going to be very truthful. But this whole like study thing turns out to be like this manipulative ploy from this doctor. And like I said before, there's like jealousy and lies and trickery. And it was just a good old time. I really did enjoy it. I went into it kind of with low expectations because I think I go into thrillers always with low expectations because I've read so many of them and so many of them have almost like the same trope to them. So you sort of go in like, okay, you know what to expect from a book. I enjoyed the storyline. The writing was amazing and it just flowed really easily. With this kind of book, there's a lot of things going on and a lot of deceit. So sometimes that can be a little bit confusing, but this one was pretty clear. Again, I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Next, I read the Horror in 24 pick for July, which was The Elementals by Michael McDowell. This is a book that I didn't even have on my radar. I mean, I had seen it. I had seen the cover. This cover is pretty memorable, if that's the right word. Like you see it and it's a cover that stays with you. It's very clean, very saturated. I mean, I love the cover. But it was nothing that was like on my radar that I wanted to read, but it was picked for Horror in 24. I say it was picked like I didn't have a, you know, sort of a say, like we all voted and I was okay with it. I did not read the synopsis going into it, so I never do, so I was just going in and I will say I was a little bit disappointed because I thought this was, I mean, just by the cover. I know. We don't judge a book by its cover, but I do. But just by its cover, I thought I was just going to be immersed in it. I loved how the story began. I was into it. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is giving me all the feels. This is going to be it. And it wasn't. At this point, I was like in need of a 5-star deep, like, I love this horror book. I just needed that horror book is what I'm trying to say. And I thought this was going to be it because like I said, when we start off meeting the family, we get into the story at a funeral and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, you meet these crazy family members and how they are with each other. Ugh, it's a little bit weird sometimes. But then somewhere after that beginning part, it just started falling flat for me. We do have a live show for this book. It was on Carol's channel if I'm not mistaken, but either way, I will leave it linked up above so that you can take a look at that live show we have. I mean, Carol loved it. This is like one of her new favorite books. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was enjoyable, but like I said, it fell a little flat for me. But basically this just follows a family or 2 families that have just lost like the matriarch of the family, Marion Savage, and they own these 3 houses or this property where there are 3 houses or 3 big houses, and they decide to go there after the funeral sort of to like regroup. They love that place. Come to find out when you get to the property, when you follow them into the properties, there are 3 houses, 2 of them which are lived in, are being used, are usually being used. But the 3rd house is sort of like a haunted house. There's stories behind it. And one of a little girl, or not a little girl, I think she's like a teenager that's part of the family or that goes there for the first time. She wants to explore this house and stuff, and things go from there. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best book that I have read. Go watch that live show, and if you've read this, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. So then, you know how I just told you that I was in need of that horror book. I was just needing that kind of love in my life, and then this baby came in and I was like,
where have you been all my life?
Edge of Dark Water by Joe R. Lansdale. This is my first Lansdale book. Definitely not my last. ¿Qué? ¿Qué he dicho? Definitely not my last. My food is here. I am hungry. Maybe that's what's wrong with me. I already have 4 other books on my TBR stack here that I am dying to read, but this book right here, you guys, was everything. Here we are following Sue Ellen and 2 of her friends and her mother. And they are on a quest because one of their friends was found dead in a body of water. And actually her along with her father and her uncle, they are the ones that find the body one day. When they're gonna go and bury her, she has this idea, well, she gets buried, but she has this idea that she wants to take her to Hollywood because her friend's dream was to become a famous actress. Like, she had everything going for her, like she had that oomph to be an actress, and so she wants to dig her up. So like unbury her and take her to Hollywood, take her ashes to Hollywood. And so she sets out with 2 of her friends, and her mother joins them along. Her mother is in an abusive relationship with Sue Ellen's dad. I have to keep looking back because the names, because it's Maylin, Sue Ellen, and I'm like, wait, what? So she's in an abusive relationship. Her father is very abusive to the both of them, and she gets her mother to leave with them. Her mother is under like substance abuse because of her just shitty life at home, and so she's able to pull her mom out of that, which I loved. It was one of my favorite parts of the book, was that the mom actually pulled herself out of there and supported her daughter through her quest, and she saw it also as a chance to like renew herself and get away from that nasty life. Anyways, this journey is unlike any other. I loved it. I love their friendships. Again, I love the mother relationship in here, what the mother goes through, and just how she supports her daughter in this quest. It is spooky. There are some spooky parts on it. This is not like a horror book where you're just like, oh my gosh, it's so scary. No, it's just a tale that has spooky events in it. But don't expect anything like super horrifying, because it's not. It's a slow burn. It almost feels like a coming of age story because of these 3 friends that are trekking along to take their dead friend to her dreams. It was fantastic. I gave it 5 stars, and I was so grateful and thankful when I actually finally read this. This was part of the Summer of Horror 2021 that Ashley runs. She does this every year where we read 3 books for the 3 months of summer. It was the best. 5 stars. If you have not read this and you like slow burn like tales, that are spooky and very heavy in ambiance, then this one's for you. We do have this like mysterious character that's supposed to be like this gruesome killer. I mean, this does have horror in it. It's a horror book. I don't want you to think that this is like a walk in the park. It's not. But for me and like the extreme horror that I read, I like to state that because I don't want you to think this is like extreme horror and you stay away from it. Though this is like that slow burn, creepy horror, and we have a guy here and nobody has really seen him. There's just tales of him, but he's like a hired person. Like people hire him to go and kill, but he like lives a nomadic life in the forest. And next thing they know is that they think that there's this guy, Skunk is his name, is going to kill them. But again, they think he's a myth. So it was just a good old time. 5 stars. You need to read it. Go get this book. Next, I read 5 Midnights by Anne Davila Cardinal. Anne Davila Cardinal. This is a little series. I believe it's a duology. I have the second book here. This is a YA horror novel, all based in Puerto Rico. And I mean, I love Puerto Rico so much. I love their food. I've been to Puerto Rico, and you know, I feel like all Hispanics, we all have like this, you know, like this, I don't know, but I loved reading this. This has to do with El Cuco, which is a huge like Puerto Rican and Mexican, I believe, too, like this whole myth or creature. But there's something killing off certain kids, or not kids, but like drug dealers and things like that. Just very bad people that live in this part of Puerto Rico. At the same time, they're going through this gentrification kind of situation in that town or city in Puerto Rico. So we have all of these 2 stories going on. It was fantastic. First off, that Cuco situation is so creepy. A lot of parents use it with their kids, like to sort of bring fear into them into behaving good, and that's what this is about. We have an American character here which is on vacation. She went to vacation in Puerto Rico because she is half Puerto Rican, but she lives, I think, in like, I don't know, like Wisconsin or Virginia, one of these states. And so they make fun of her a lot because she's so white, and she feels so defensive because she knows that she's Puerto Rican as well. So we have all these moving parts. It was fantastic. It was a good old time. I'm so glad I finally read it. I highly recommend this if you like more of a YA horror setting. This one is great. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And last but not least was our Stacks of Strange book for July. Creatures of Passage, another 5-star read that ripped my heart out, stomped on it, gave it to me again, and then hugged it. What? You heard me. I'm not repeating myself. That's exactly how it was. We have a live show for this as well on Rain's channel. I will link it up above. Go look at it, please. This book is not going to be for everybody. It is very confusing. It is very weird, but not, I feel like this is not as weird as some of the other books that we have read. It's lyrical, but not too lyrical. It's whimsical, but dark at the same time. The characters in here, I love. The story, I love. And like I said, it's there are a lot of confusing elements to this, but this is just one of those books that you gotta go with the flow with it and just know that it's gonna clear itself up at some point. Here we're following Nephthys, and she has like a weird job. I can't really tell you what her job is, but she is like an Uber almost, but it's like a special Uber, and people that have certain kinds of emotions or feelings or need to deal with something come to her, and they don't know that they're going to each other, but it's kind of weird. I don't know how to explain it, but she's a driver, basically, some kind of taxi, a spooky taxi, and her car is being haunted by this little white girl, this little ghost, this little white girl ghost. That's how she is mentioned in the book, and she's haunting the trunk. And then her brother died a couple years back, and so every year on the anniversary of his death, they were twins, she has a really hard time, so she drinks herself silly. She doesn't know what has happened to her brother yet. She's trying to find answers, and it's just this journey of her trying to find answers. We have her great-grandnephew, I think it is, her estranged great-nephew, not great-grandnephew. He's 10 years old, he's Dash, and one day he just shows up at her house. And he's trying to figure something out. His mom can't know that he's going to visit his great aunt. But anyways, the story develops from there. We're just trying to find out who killed her brother Osiris and why. Like I said, I felt sometimes that I was reading a fantasy, like a dark fantasy novel, because Osiris's daughter, which is obviously Dash's mom, is Nephthys sort of like disconnected from her. She has these dreams. Osiris's daughter, Dash's mother, she has these dreams, and every time that she has these dreams, they come true. So they play what's called they write what's called the lottery, and which is the local newspaper comes and does a segment each time, and she sits there and tells them her dreams of what's gonna happen to certain people, and then they put it out in the newspaper. So, but ever since she started having these dreams, Nephthys, it's so hard to say her name, sort of is mad at her, because she's like, if you have these dreams and you have these powers, how could this have happened to my brother and you never saw anything? So she has like this turmoil inside of her with her niece, and so she disconnects from her. But this niece, Dash's mother, she lives like off to the side of the city, and you have to go like down into like I don't know what that's called, but you go down and it's almost like the clouds cover her house, and it's like a hut. So it felt very like dark, whimsical, and right next to a main city. So it was like almost like contemporary, dark, horror, fantasy. It was just amazing. I loved it. I want to read more from this author, Morowa Yejide. I forget how I listened to the audiobook and I was able to pronounce it, but I can't pronounce Yejide. Morowa Yejide. I think that's how it is. She has another book out that I just want to read. This gave me the feels, and the writing is spectacular. And I've been talking about it for like 20 minutes. 5 stars. Fantastic. I loved it. So 2 like loves of my life this month for sure were Creatures of Passage and Edge of Dark Water. Like, I want to read those books over and over and over again. And I feel like Creatures of Passage is a good book to reread, because I feel like it has so many moving parts and so many things that I feel like you'll catch something different each time you read it. So yeah, great reading weeks for the end of July. I'm pretty happy with it. Before I close out this video, I thought I would let you know the August picks for Horror in 24 and also Stacks of Strange. Just in case you guys want to join us, there is still time for both. I think that the live show for Horror in 24 is in between the 24th and the 26th, one of the in between those 3 days. I will list it down below because I can't think off the top of my head right now. And then the Stacks of Strange live shows are always towards the end of the month. Our Horror in 24 book for August is Joyland by Stephen King. If you want to join us, it's a short one and it's perfect for summer. And the Stacks of Strange book is The Taking of Jake Livingston, which I am so excited for because look at this cover. This cover is just so inviting to me. I just love it so much. So those are the 2 books that we're reading for the month of August. If you want to join us, let me know what you read for July, or what was your favorite book in July. You know, I'm always looking to read new books, even though I don't need any. I don't need any new books. But yeah, you guys, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.